Hi, welcome to Miniatures Rundown. I'm Kevin, and here we're unwrapping some gifts from the grandfather himself. We've got all of the new kits for Maggotkin of Nurgle for their new 4th edition battle tome, and we're going to take a look at them and see what's inside. We're going to take a look at the Pestigors, the Rotswords, the Sloven Knights, the new Putrid Blightkings, and Festus the Leechlord, my personal favorite. And let's go ahead and start opening them up. So first here, we've got the Pestigors, return from the old Warhammer Fantasy. Those old heads like me would remember the old metal Pestigors from back in the day. And these are kind of a return to form for that. Yeah, just take off the plastic here. You can tell this is fresh because I'm taking off the plastic. Take a look at the back of the box here. You can see they've got all kinds of weird, interesting, almost like farming implements, which I think is really cool for Nurgle. To kind of that growth and rebirth that they have, theme that they have, is really played out in those weapons. So let's go ahead and open that up and see what we got here. All right. Usual instructions. Stat block that nobody ever uses. And let's take a look here. So it's kind of a two-parter. Looks like they're on 32 millimeter bases, so same as your Space Marines. And let's take a look at what we've got here. All right. So here, man, there's so many cool details on here. Like the weapons, especially this flail here. I really like this threshing flail. Once again, as I was talking about earlier, like the weapons were very reminiscent of farming implements, which really plays into the theme that Nurgle has of birth and regrowth and decay. Kind of a little bit of that farm horror that I think is really cool here. Especially you can see that with these heads, like they're all misshapen and lumping, but they kind of have like this guy right here has a really festive appearance with like decorating with ribbons and whatnot. Especially you can see it with this banner with kind of this Wicker Man feel it has with these wicker work, icon of Nurgle, and all these banners, these ribbons and stuff flowing off of it. You can paint those all kinds of interesting colors. And I think these guys would really benefit from like lots of different colorings and everything, and not to mention all these distended guts and everything that makes them look bloated and just pretty awful, but also kind of cheerful, which is really plays well into Nurgle. I really like it. Flails though, I really like those flails. Let's take a look at the other sprue. Once again, we have more reaping implements, some axes. Once again, these flails. I love these flails. I can imagine I'm gonna put as many of these as I can on these guys. And they just look like just so like this, like pouring over that gut plate there, and these horns just kind of split and merge together. There's a few hooves on tactical rocks, which is just Games Workshop's MO lately, is giving everyone a nice little tactical rock. But yeah, all these heads and everything, they do look like they're very I haven't gone over the directions, but they do look like they're very like this part goes to this part. There's not a whole lot of customizability within this kit without a whole lot of work, but they do look very characterful. And but I guess the one thing that might be a drawback is you're probably going to want to run a lot of them if you run these guys at all. So you might have a lot of repeat sculpts unless you do some work to them. But at least they're really nice sculpts. So yeah, so that is the Pestigors. I really like this kit. Looking at the painted examples on the front here, like there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, lots of interesting details that I think is really characterful of Age of Sigmar as a whole right now, is that they've given all kinds of extra detail to a lot of these models that they've refreshed. Next up, and another favorite of mine, I like Nurgle, like kind of no surprise here, but I play Death Guard in 40k, and I think this is going to get me into Maggotkin here, is the Rotswords. So Rotswords here, these are kind of like taking up the role that the Blightkings used to take up in the previous iteration of the Battle Tome. See here, they're fully armored, very warrior of chaos, but tainted by Nurgle. Once again, going back to Warhammer Fantasy, I remember having blocks of Nurgle warriors and making them look kind of green and rusted. And these guys really just take that to the nth level. I really like it. So let's take a look at the back here. Yeah, so it looks like there's a good weapon selection and all that. So let's just go ahead and crack it open. So there's 3 sprues. Usual instructions. stat blocks. Once again, looks like these are on 32 mils, so another like standard marine size. Because, you know, the standard unit of measurement within Games Workshop is the Space Marine. So looks like here, let's go ahead and just take these sprues into the limelight here. So it looks like there are options to give all of their Rotswords shields, which is really cool because they have a 3-up save. So having like a fully armored shield wall of dudes with shields is a really cool look. But it also looks like there's left and right-handed weapon options, which means that you could probably arm some of these guys with dual weapons, which also looks really cool. And it's very Chaos Warrior-y to have multiple weapons on one guy. Kind of got this plate armor here, this like kind of almost lamellarish skirt there. Looks really cool. I love the icon of Nurgle in the tip of the sword there. The fullers and stuff running down the blades is really nice. Let's see, I flip it over because there's some more detail here. Yeah, the axe. I love axes. Of course, I'm a dwarf fan, so of course I love axes. I don't see any hammers though. But yeah, they looked at this helm with like these growths coming out of, like there's a horn, but then there's also like these coral-like growths coming out. This foot that's just kind of spilling out of this armor here. That's so cool. This more like decrepit plate. Like you would think that this armor wouldn't work very well, but you know, it's blessed by Nurgle. So, all right, let's move on to the next sprue. I may have spoke too soon about not having any hammers because I see some maces, some nice spiked maces. It's like a kind of more of a club here, more of another mace, some axes, more swords, and kind of a 2-bit axe here. Looks like there's a lot of different weapon options. Once again, I haven't looked at the directions yet, but it looks like you have a lot of weapon options for arming these guys. Now, it doesn't affect their profile. Their profile is just their mastercrafted tainted weapons. So any of these weapons that you give them, they're going to have the same stats. But what that means, you can kit them out to look really cool or look however you want them to look. I just love, like one of my favorite things about Death Guard is the split armor and like the stuff pouring out of the armor, and you can kind of see that with all of these here. And then like just like the armor is just barely holding these guys together, and a tactical goop. I don't know what that is. But yeah, these are I like this sword a lot here. I could see using these swords and any extra weapons here for conversion opportunities across multiple games. Like these would be really great for cultist weapons or anything. Like I can see like, you know, shaving some of these down, taking some of the Nurgle stuff off and using some of these in Necromunda. Like that would be really cool. Let's take a look at this last sprue over here. Once again, they've done a really cool job with these banners and making them not just generic like chaos, and then they add the symbol of whatever god is appropriate here. Like they've really done a good job of like making these banners super characterful. We've seen that in both this kit and the Pestigors kit. So yeah, we have all kinds of like these icon, like this appears to be an icon topper here, but I think I prefer just the bear icon here. And there, oh man, there's this cool veil made out of mail here on this helmet with these horns. And that's probably a champion's helm, or it could be the standard bearer's helm. Once again, in this Games Workshop style of modeling these days, these kits probably go together in one specific way with some options in between. Judging by all the weapon options I see here, like you could probably outfit them in different ways, but their poses are probably pretty locked in. This appears to be another icon topper here. Once again, though, I think I just like this bear icon. I think that's really just the way that I would go with this. All right. So that's the Rotswords. I think that's a really cool kit. One box makes 10, which I think is a really good value. I really like this kit. All right, let's put this one away. Back to the garden with you. We'll open up the Putrid Blightkings. Now, these guys, the Putrid Blightkings have a history going all the way back to the end times of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And that's when they first came out, when they reintroduced the new Archaeon and all of the Maggoth lords and the Glottkin all came out at that time. And the Putrid Blightkings are a part of that release. And they've been reimagined here. It's pretty interesting that they've kind of reimagined their role as less of frontline warriors and more like, not priests in the technical sense that like they don't cast prayers or anything like that, but they're kind of like holy warriors. And you can see that in the detail in their robes and everything like that. That kind of gives them more of like a holy warrior feel than like a knight feel, which I think is pretty interesting. But that doesn't mean that you can't use the old Blightkings. If you have the old Blightkings, you can still totally use them for Putrid Blightkings. It's fine. Let me see some more detail on the back. You get 5 to a box. Let's go ahead and open it up. All right. Well, these guys are on chunky 40 millimeter bases, it looks like. You got your directions, all the weapons and stuff on the back. That no one ever uses that. They continue to waste ink on that for some reason. But anyway, we got the 40 millimeter bases. So Terminator size bases to go by standard issue Games Workshop measurements. You got 2 sprues. Looks a little bit more sparse than the Rotswords, but let's take a closer look at it. All right, so let's take a look here. So we see we have an icon here. Doesn't really have much in the way. I'm gonna flip it over. Doesn't have a whole lot of much way of detail presently, but it looks like there's several toppers that are available to put on it to kind of like, we have this like 3 tri-lobe fly that you can put on top there. See if there's any others that I can pick out. There might be some on the other sprue too, but I'm not sure. But like compared to the Rotswords, you can see that these guys are like a lot more blessed by Nurgle in a lot of ways. They're bigger, they're beefier. They look a little bit more exuberant if we go back to the box art. They look like they're really having a good time, which, you know, Nurgle is also, he's a god of despair, but also of joy. Looks like they have like kind of these pole arms, these big maces. Like the one thing that I really noticed about these new Blightkings kits is that they've really chunked up their weapons quite a bit to kind of give them a different personality than the Rotswords. Like the Rotswords have like more normal man-sized weapons. These are more like, these are big and beefy. And you can see like, once again, details that just like the goop and flesh pouring out of the armor. Just these guys are barely contained within whatever armor they're wearing, and they do have a worse armor save than they did in the previous edition. They only have a 5+ rather than a 3+, which they used to have, which is a pretty big downgrade. But their role is also quite a bit different in the army too. I really like this helm here. I always like the antlers with Nurgle. It's just kind of a weird, unique thing that kind of ties them back into the Great Unclean One, which that history goes way back, you know, to the very beginnings of Warhammer. And I really dig those helms. And like all of the helm options have antlers, which I think kind of like draws them back in a spiritual way to the great grandfather himself. And let's see, this is the other sprue. We got this big, look at this big pole arm here. Like this is like, if you imagine this as like in real life, like this is like this thing is like 18 feet tall. Like this thing is huge. Look at this axe. Like I would be struggling. I could not pick that up. Let me not kid myself. I couldn't pick that up. But once again, referring back to the box art though, like these guys are just like overjoyed. Like their limbs are flailing out. They look like they're like preaching as they're walking. Like it's really, really cool, the feeling that these models even give just being on the sprue. I can't wait to put them together. This is big chunky mace. Like this is obviously the 2-part. It's a hollow on the inside. And man, that thing would hurt if it hit you. It only does 1 damage, which is weird, but it looks like it would hurt more than 1 damage. But yeah, these are really, really cool. And of course, a tactical rock. Can't miss tactical rock. So yeah, that's the Putrid Blightkings. A glorious resculpt of a classic kit. Well, classic in the Warhammer sense, I guess. And yeah, it's really cool. It doesn't look like it has as many options as the Rotsword kit would have. But at the same time, I think that this kit has a lot of personality. You probably won't end up running a whole lot of these guys. So the fact that you're going to have a lot of repeats and poses probably isn't that going to be that big of a detriment to the overall look of your army. But I do like them. And next up, I'm particularly excited for the Sloven Knights. Nurgle has been lacking a proper like foot cavalry for a long time, and I'm glad that they have them back. And I remember in Warhammer Fantasy, of course, I keep talking about Warhammer Fantasy, but of course, the lineage of this army goes back that far, is that you giving knights the Mark of Nurgle was just a terror. And I distinctly remember that being a point of problem for my my dwarf warriors back in the day. But looking at this box art, like, I can already tell I'm gonna love this kit. There are so many cool head options. These horses are not having a good time. These horses look like they're about done. But Nurgle keeps pressing them forward. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we got. So it's 2 sprues. And they're on the slightly larger cavalry bases. You get 3 of them. And usual directions. I will point out that they do point out the hooves, and they highlight the hooves as a weapon, because I mean they are a weapon in the game, but it's just kind of funny that they bother to highlight them. So 2 sprues. It looks like we're in the kind of the same boat we are with the Blightkings in terms of customizability. Looks like there's a whole lot of opportunity for that. But let's take a look at the sprues individually and see what we got. So yeah, you can see there's a lot of cloth in this kit. So if you enjoy painting cloth, this is a great kit for you. If you do not enjoy painting cloth, well, you're going to have some practice ahead of you. But look at these heads. These heads, like, I really love this helm with kind of like the tri-lobe faceplate and just the antler coming out the side. This one too with the 3 eye holes and this antler just jutting out the side. These guys look like they're just like blessed by Nurgle in all the worst ways. I mean, is there a good way to be blessed by Nurgle? I don't know. This guy in particular is just, I'm going to turn it so he's facing the right way. This guy in particular is just like, he is not enjoying himself. That is, or maybe he really is. It's hard to tell. That facial expression is kind of indistinct. But I know that that's how I look after not having a great time. But yeah, like, once again, fully armored. These guys have a 3-up save, 4 wounds apiece, so they're pretty chunky. This hammer, I really like this weapon here. This is a brutal looking weapon. I think if you got hit by that, that'd send you going all the way across the field. These horses, though, these horses have a ton of personality, and none of it is great. The personality, like, these horses are just like, they're not having a great time. Being blessed by Nurgle is not a pleasant experience for these horses. But yeah, that's just the other side with all the negative space. And let's take a look at the other sprue. This hammer too. That hammer is just like a stone strapped to a piece of wood. It is not a friendly piece of kit. This flail too. I really like the flails on the Pestigors. This one is close, not quite. It's got really only difference as a chain, but I guess that's okay. And it looks like you might not have much of an option to swap this weapon out without some conversion work, which wouldn't take a whole lot. Once again, pretty much the other side of the horses. You see all the normal stuff that you would see with Nurgle. You got the armor, kind of the flesh. There's not quite as much like flesh spilling out of these guys as you saw with the Blightkings or the Rotswords. These guys look like they're more covered up and like their armor's holding them together a little bit better. But once again, you got kind of a tri-lobe helm here with the antler splitting out, horsetails, little pauldron shields. Like, oh, this head right here, this head with the missing nose. I just noticed that. The missing nose, like the sunken in eyes, and just those growths coming on off his left side there. Oh, he is not enjoying himself right now. Or maybe he is. I don't know. Nurgle kind of gives and kind of takes. But yeah, that's a really cool kit. Once again, I think it's a kit that is going to end up, you're probably going to want to reinforce these guys, which means you're going to have some repeat in poses. But there's not a whole lot of customizability within this kit from what I can see here. But you can really change it up with how you paint it. There's a lot of cloth, so you can really change up how your stuff looks within the unit with the cloth, patterns you can put on the cloth, stuff like that. And of course, the horses themselves, like, they're gross and diseased, so you can paint them all kinds of gross and diseased colors to kind of separate them out and make them unique amongst each other. And then last, but certainly not least, and probably my favorite sculpt of the new models, is Festus the Leechlord. Now, if you played Warhammer Fantasy, once of course I'm revisiting that back in the day, or if you play Warhammer Total War, you'll recognize Festus as a character. And he is back, and he is more jovial than ever. He is just a gross kid. He's riding a giant leech, and flip him over, get a better look at him. And he's got kind of a worm coming out of his stomach here, and just like this mount is just absolutely gruesome. I am thrilled to paint this guy and put him together. He's got a sack of unmentionable behind him. Of this gentleman back here is really having a really bad time. If you are in Festus's clutches, you're not in for a great time. Let's go ahead and open them up and see what we got. Festus is a model that kind of survived a little bit into Age of Sigmar and then kind of went away. Just became kind of a generic wizard. And now he's back in full force. He survived the end times, and Nurgle saw fit to bring him back out of the garden. So we got 2 sprues. It's on a large oval. Not quite knight-sized, a little lesser. But a little bit bigger than like the Beastmen monsters. So we have Festus, his directions. They point out the little leech. They point out his little staff, his little bonking staff. Doesn't do a whole lot. And then the leech's mouth, which is actually a pretty good weapon. So got 2 sprues, 1 small, 1 big. We'll check out the big one first. Okay, so it looks like the leech just kind of comes in 2 big halves here. This is just gross. Like, leeches creep me out anyway, as they probably do most people, and this is no different. Like, this is actually kind of like close to a big actual leech size that you'd find in a swamp somewhere. So that's particularly creepy. Lots of little like vials and fetishes and stuff, things that you would expect Festus to have, like kind of carrying his laboratory around with him. If you don't know, Festus is kind of a scientist under employ of Nurgle, and he's always looking to brew new poisons and diseases. And so he's always working very happily. He enjoys his job a lot, probably more than most mortals would care for. This rack of antlers with potions and vials and stuff on is so cool. It looks like, I can't quite tell, but I think that's a rib cage, which is just really gross. It's either a rib cage or a basket. I imagine you can paint it either way. There's a little Nurgling head. So there's a little Nurgling hiding out on him somewhere. And I always love that about Nurgle models, is that you can just kind of put Nurglings wherever and they always kind of fit in. There's half of his prisoner here who is really regretting his life choices. And looks like the platform that sits on top of the leech that Festus sits on. Here's here. It doesn't quite show, but the little grabby leech that goes onto his tummy there, right there. That's gross. That's awful. But yeah, so that's that sprue. Mostly leech, some prisoner. Let's take a look at the smaller half here. So this is the big guy himself. Here's his sack of unmentionables. The victim that he's grabbing with his stomach leech. Festus himself. He's big. I don't know if any of you remember his old model, but he was a pretty sizable guy in his old model, and he's kind of grown up a little bit, kind of been blessed even more by Nurgle. He's got like a horn holding a couple skulls. Looks like this might be the tongue for the leech. That's gross. Festus's grin himself right there. There's one thing about Festus. He really likes his job. He is very happy with his employment status. And then looks like the other parts of his throne that he sits on, or throne/laboratory. He's not wearing much armor, which can be fitting of his profile. And yeah, this is a really cool kit. He has 2 heads. Oh, that's a really cool detail. So he has one that's a little bit more serious, and he has one that's a little bit more happy. That's really interesting. I like that. I'm not sure which I'd pick. I think I'd pick the happy one. I like the happy aspect of Nurgle. So yeah, like any character kit, pretty standard in how you can put them together. There's not a whole lot of options, except for, as I just pointed out, the head options, which you can choose sad or kind of serious, I guess, morose, and happy. But it's a really, really cool model. And I really look forward to painting that leech. I look forward to seeing what other people do with this model too, because there's all kinds of opportunity here for water effects and for like slime effects and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to going to events and see what people do with this model. I think this is a really cool kit. I'm not sure if we'll see a lot of play. I think he's got a really interesting war scroll, and I think you can probably find a good home for him in your list. But man, it would be fun to see him on the tabletop regardless. So yeah, so that's the new Maggotkin of Nurgle models for their new battle tome in 4th edition Age of Sigmar. They're really cool. There's a lot of really positive aspects to all those models, all the details, and specifically with the Rotswords, the options that you have for weapons and to really kind of make them your own. And for a lot of those kits, because it's both Nurgle and the way that they're built, there's a lot of ways for you to, with green stuff or with just some basic sculpting skills, to really kind of make them your own as well. I think these are really cool kits, and I can't wait to see what people do with them. So thank you for joining us here on Miniatures Rundown with our unboxing of Maggotkin of Nurgle. If you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, and join us next time, and may Grandfather Nurgle be kind to you as well.